You pass strangers every day, in line at the store, at stoplights, on quiet sidewalks. Most of them are nothing, just faces you'll never remember. But sometimes, a stranger notices you, not casually, not by accident, the kind of noticing that lingers. And once you realize you've been selected, you also realize something worse. You have no idea what they want. These are 3 true nightmares about strangers, and the moments they stopped feeling harmless. Nightmare 1. I noticed him in the cereal aisle, and at first I didn't think anything of it. It was late, close to closing time, and the store had that empty, echoing feel it gets when most people are already home. I'd stopped in for something simple: milk, bread, maybe a frozen dinner. I was tired, moving on autopilot, not really paying attention to anyone else. That's why it stood out when I saw him again. At the end of the aisle, he was pretending to compare 2 boxes of cereal, but he wasn't reading the labels. His head was angled slightly toward me, like he was waiting for me to look up. When I did, he didn't smile. He didn't look away fast like someone caught staring. He just held eye contact. I turned my cart and went the other direction, telling myself I was being dramatic. People are weird. People zone out. People stare. 2 minutes later, I was in the dairy section grabbing a carton of milk, and there he was again. Not right next to me, just close enough to be normal. Close enough that if I complained, I'd sound crazy. He picked up a yogurt, turned it once, like he was checking the date, then put it back without taking anything. Then he drifted to the end of the aisle and waited. That's when the thought finally landed. He's not shopping. He's following me. My heart started beating harder, but I kept my face neutral. I pushed the cart toward the front, forcing myself not to look back too often, and walked straight to customer service. My hands were shaking by then, but I kept my voice steady. "I think someone is following me," I said quietly. "If that doesn't creep you out, the next nightmare might. And if you're enjoying these stories, take a second to like the video and subscribe to Nightmare Central for more true horror every week. Because the next nightmare didn't happen in a store. It happened in a place you're supposed to feel safe, your workplace. Nightmare 2. The first time I saw him, he was wearing a safety vest and carrying a clipboard. That's why nobody questioned him. It was a normal weekday morning at my office building. People rushing in with coffee, security nodding at familiar faces, the lobby full of that low hum of elevators and conversations. I worked on the 3rd floor in a suite with a few small businesses. We had contractors come through sometimes, maintenance, HVAC, internet techs, so a stranger in a vest didn't set off alarms. He stood near the sign-in desk and smiled at the receptionist like they already knew each other. When he walked past me toward the elevator bank, he glanced at my badge, then looked up at my face and said my first name. Just my first name. Casually, like we'd met before. I froze for half a second, trying to place him. He didn't stop to talk. He just kept walking, still smiling, and stepped into the elevator right before the doors closed. Maybe he heard someone say my name in the lobby, I told myself. Maybe I was overthinking. But the next day, he was there again. Same vest, same clipboard. This time, he stood near the coffee station on our floor, watching people come and go. He didn't look like he was working. He looked like he was waiting for something. When I walked by, he spoke again. Still too familiar. "Rough morning?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just nodded and kept moving. At my desk, I tried to stop thinking about it. Contractors usually talk to facilities. They usually have a clear job. They don't linger. They don't learn names. At lunch, I asked our receptionist if she knew him. She frowned. The contractor? Yeah, I've seen him around. He signs in sometimes. Sometimes, I repeated. She shrugged. He comes and goes. Maybe he's with the building. That didn't make me feel better. That afternoon, I went to the restroom and noticed something that snapped everything into place. As I washed my hands, I saw him in the mirror behind me, standing in the hallway outside the restroom doors, not walking past, not heading somewhere, just standing there, facing the entrance, waiting. I dried my hands slowly, heart thumping, and when I stepped out, he was still there. He shifted his weight like he'd been bored. Then he smiled. "You're always in a hurry," he said. That sentence felt like a hand closing around my throat, because it meant he'd been watching me long enough to know my habits. I didn't respond. I walked straight back to my office suite, locked the door behind me, and told my coworker quietly that something felt wrong. She wanted to laugh it off at first, until she saw my face. We called building security. A stranger in public is unsettling. A stranger at your workplace is worse. But the final nightmare tonight is what happens when a stranger decides they don't need permission to come inside. Nightmare 3. It started with a knock that didn't sound urgent. It was 2:41 in the morning. The hour where everything feels too quiet and your brain tries to explain sounds away. I was asleep on the couch with the TV on low, half covered by a blanket, when I heard it. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, like someone tapping a rhythm. I didn't move. I waited for a second knock that sounded like an accident, like someone at the wrong apartment. Instead, there was another set. 3 knocks, same pace, same pressure. That's when my heart started racing. I lived alone, no roommates, no overnight guests, no reason anyone should be at my door. I sat up slowly, keeping the lights off, and listened. Silence, then a soft shuffle outside, footsteps repositioning, like someone adjusting their stance. I stepped closer to the door and looked through the peephole. No one, which made no sense. The hallway light was on. The corridor wasn't dark enough for someone to vanish unless they were standing directly against the wall beside my door. I backed away, and then I heard the sound that turned my stomach cold. A faint metallic click, like someone touching the lock, not forcing it, testing it. I froze in place, phone clenched in my hand. Then the door handle moved, slowly, deliberately. It didn't open, but it wasn't because they weren't trying. It was because my deadbolt was on. I dialed 911 with trembling fingers, and while it rang, I pressed my back against the wall, staring at the door like it might breathe. The dispatcher answered. I whispered my address. As I spoke, the handle moved again. This time, a little harder, like whoever was outside was checking whether the bolt was the only thing stopping them. Then silence, footsteps moving away, not fast, not panicked, just leaving like they'd confirmed what they came to confirm. Police arrived about 10 minutes later. They checked the hallway, the stairwell, the parking lot. They found nothing, no one matching my description. No suspicious vehicles, nothing. One officer asked, "Do you have enemies?" I almost laughed, because the idea felt ridiculous. "I don't even have neighbors I talk to," I said. He told me to keep the deadbolt on, to consider getting a camera, and to call immediately if it happened again. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with every light on, staring at the door. Morning came, and with it, the false safety of daylight. I convinced myself it was a drunk person, a mistake, someone trying random doors. Then I stepped outside and saw something that erased that comfort completely. My doormat was slightly out of place, just an inch, like it had been lifted and set back down. I knelt and pulled it aside. Underneath was a folded piece of paper, blank, no message, no scribble, just folded carefully into a tight square, like someone took their time, like it was a marker, a reminder. I brought it inside without touching it directly, used a paper towel like it was evidence. I stared at it at my kitchen table, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. I bought a camera that day, installed extra locks, changed my routine, and for a while, nothing happened. But sometimes, late at night, when the hallway outside goes quiet, I still think about the difference between a break-in and a test. A break-in is chaos, a test is planning, and whoever was outside my door that night wasn't angry. They weren't rushing, they were learning. Strangers are everywhere. Most pass through your life without a second thought, but every once in a while, one of them decides to notice you. This was Nightmares of Strangers. Sleep carefully.